reliability, in terms of performance, and really getting a handle on this brand new car. So, yeah, to come back next year would really be to reap the rewards.
That's a good bit of driving there, Vallon. He's obviously checking his mirrors, see Catsbird's coming up, so he's pulled off the circuit.
And I wonder whether he was coming into the pit lane anyway and stayed off the racing line.
But there's always a little bit of dust and debris off that racing line, so which you'll pick up on his soft, sticky tyres. And so, I mean, you've got to say fair play to him on that one.
No, fair enough.
Who's going very wide? Was that Demoustier going out?
Yeah, it was Demoustier. It's hard to tell, actually, when they shoot off in the background. It's almost like the last corner at Shanghai, where it looks like, oh, he's going off. Oh, no, he's going down the pit road. And it'll be the same deal here.
Oh, no, he's back on again.
Yeah, be the same deal here. Let's take a look at Norby, trying to string a quick one together. 2 green sectors. Interesting,
Norby, from his in-car lap, he has echoed what we've been believing all along, that this, he mentioned it 2 or 3 times, how hard this this central section of the lap is on the front tyres especially. So
that tyre stack on the apex of corner 11 gets very close, and especially, as you can see now, they're heading into the sun there. So it's a little bit like the witching hour at Le Mans when the sun starts to go down, and they'll be racing sort of this time tomorrow. I mean, this session 5 to 5:30. Race 2 starts at 4:15 tomorrow. Race 3 starts at 5:30. So this is exactly the sort of time, or 5:25. This is exactly the sort of time that they'll be heading into race 2. So they'll be heading up to turn 12 and heading up to turn 4, going straight into the evening sun. And 9, 10, 11, that sequence as well, the sun will be right in their eyes.
I just looked at that clock, which is actually the countdown. I thought it was 18:11. I thought, no, it's not. It's 17:11.
Don't. I have that at Le Mans all the time. Time of race compared to time left compared to time of day. See, that's 3 sets of times. I have trouble with 1.
Yeah, you just go back to your comments on the Lada, Martin. You know, we forget it is a brand new car this year. You know, it's a new thing for them. You know, the Honda's got a year under the belt, the Citroen's got a year under the belt, the Chevy has as well. So, you know, the way the weight swings around about, so okay, Lada have had some great results, but you know, they have been a little bit on catch-up because the Citroen and Honda machines won't stop developing their cars.
That's absolutely true, and Citroen, I don't think made huge steps forward over last winter, but I imagine that they will be knuckling down to try and find a lot of extra speed from the car this winter, because their rivals are very slowly creeping up towards them.
You can't slow down, you can't stop. I mean, if you liken it to Formula One, the Williams with the Mercedes engine was a fantastic package at the beginning of the year, and now they're struggling.
Yep.
And that isn't because they've got slower. I think it's because the speed of development, they just haven't kept pace at the moment.
Other people have found more developments.
Agreed.
Thiago Monteiro 3rd, Hugo Vallon 2nd, and Jose Maria Lopez fastest, all in the pits. So Vallon was coming in when we saw him pull out of the way earlier on, and that was off the back of a 2nd fastest lap.
Well, you can tell Jose Maria is finding it really tough, as he's been saying so far, because he's now fastest in all 3 sessions. So, but he has increased his time a little bit. He's 39.5.
Norby was fastest in the 1st session.
Oh yes, sorry.
So yeah, so only the ones that are timed and count. Yeah, okay, yeah. Gabrielli on a flyer. Maybe Bernani's dropped half a second in sector 2. It's not good. Where's that gone?
Tarquini sitting in 7th at the moment, looking to try and...
Nico Lapierre might get out for the final 15 minutes, so that'll be, I don't know, maybe 5-6 laps if he's fortunate. Let's hope.
Well, they want to get him out, Martin, if anything, not to set a lap time, make the cars straight, make the cars working, it's all pointing in a straight line, and just so he's ready for qualifying, so he can go out with confidence on his fresh tyres.
And it's not about him setting a lap time either, as you say, it's about him getting a few more laps in. So faster lap coming from Tom Chilton, and Chile moved briefly up to 11th, down to 12th as Mar goes 10th. That's not going to get him writing postcards back home, is it? 10th place. So Lopez, where are the situations? So Lopez fastest, Muller up to 4th. Now that's better. So Muller having maybe a fresh tyre run there, because he was languishing in 11th or 12th in first free practice. Where did he end up? 11th fastest. And he's battling with Sebastian Loeb for runner-up spot in the championship. Loeb in 14th at the moment, 1.16 behind, and he in fact is behind the local boy Tin Sritre.
Yeah, good time off Daste. He bounces into the top 10 for, he's now the only Chevy in the top 10, but he's up to 6th, which is good time, just half a second off.
A little bit of oversteer there from Mar as he rode the curbs again between turn 8 and 9.
Got fans everywhere on that car, haven't they?
Yep.
Just pointing in drivers, brakes.
Well, everything overheats in these things, especially in these conditions. On board with Tom Coronel, he's posted a video online, an onboard video as well, so if you want to have a driver's eye view of the circuit, always good to go and check out his Twitter and Facebook accounts. He has loads of stuff up there from behind the scenes as well. Tom and twin brother Tim. Tim's back home, finishing preparations for their adventure in January in the Dakar. So they're off to South America again in their buggies. Oh, and another twitchy moment for Hugo Vallant. And Matt, you talked about this in the first free practice, how all the twisty-turny stuff, you want the back to be moving around a lot, you want it to rotate, as drivers say, to slide the tail so you preserve the front a bit. But that means the high-speed stuff, the car's going to feel a little bit scary.
Yeah, I'd say that, but you don't. Oh, he had a little bit of a moment there, didn't he? You actually don't want it to slide, you want it to steer. Yeah, it's...
little too much bump steer, are we saying?
That's a little bit too much rear end, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if his left rear tow arm is attached in any way.
Yeah, we're not going to see the wheel moving per se from eye shot. I mean, you're talking millimetres of movement, but it does make a massive, massive difference.
Philippe de Corsac gives a wry smile. Well, that was save of the day so far, wasn't it?
Hugo normally saves those sort of moves for lap one, doesn't he? So
I'm saying it may be a little loose. Look, he's come back on from the pit exit road.
Was he that wide? He's gone through.
Yeah. He went, well, not that he went through the pit lane, but he went straight off the runoff area and crossed the white line into the pit exit road and then rejoined the track.
He's got 12 minutes left, whether he needs to just come in and sort his car out or just have a slow one and have another rethink about how to approach the corner.
Mate, I think whatever they've done, they've overdone a little.
Well,
do you know what? I'm looking at that left rear and I'm now convincing myself the left rear is towing out a lot.
Well, what you have, Martin, is you'll have static toes on the car which you work with. The wheels won't always be pointing in a straight line, and you can tow them in, you can tow them out for different reactions of where you want it on the corner. But then you also have your bump steer which you work with. So there's a lot of different things to play with. Interesting
watching the Chevy just then, that how much more tuck there was on the laden wheel, how much it tucked under. Thought, that's quite interesting.
Michelitz is Honda flaming a lot more on overrun than the factory Castrol cars.
Well, it was smoking a lot as well.
It'll be Mugen Honda doing all the engineers doing both engines, so whether it's a particular map he's got in, because they've got a lot of adjustment with the anti-lagging systems for the driver, so maybe it's just Norby's running it a little bit more aggressively.
And some of that possibly is just the way the driver drives on the throttle as well, how much throttle versus brake he's using in different places. But
it's normally one for left foot brakers, but because they can trail the throttle in and out. But Norby is a right foot braker, so he's a classic. So unlike Muller, who's even from his ice racing days, he's a big advocate of the left foot braking technique.
And usually that's legacy of a single-seater career, but when Ivan was in single-seaters, they had manual gearboxes and clutches, and left-foot braking wasn't so much a thing as it is now with two pedals and flappy paddles.
That was proper heeling and towing back then.
Absolutely.
Old, classic.
Old school.
Lopez running a bit wide as well. He's
Well, again, you know, I think the overall grip level is not especially high. And because of the long, fast straights, you can't really dial up wing, because
Martin,
that just means
they're still
drag.
learning the circuit. The way they learn it is they push it to the limit, they push it over the limit, and they pull it back, and then that's where they find it. And then they've got to do that for every corner on every lap with a different setup and a different trial, and then they've got to, you know, they could end up with 2 completely different setups giving the same lap time, but one will be faster in one part of the circuit, one in the other, and one will be better for overtaking or defending. And so this is, they're trying to cover a lot of ground very quickly. You'll find probably the 3 factory Citroens going completely different routes, and then all comparing their data at the end of each session to and moving their drivers off in that one direction which they feel is better.
Interesting to see Loeb picking up 0.2 of a second in the final sector, Lopez rather. Vallon still second and has gone back in with his very wayward Chevrolet. Sebastian Loeb third.
Yeah, John Philippi we're watching here. He's having a good run at the moment.
Yep, he is, isn't he?
One of his best runs per se.
Slightly surprised Grégoire de Moustier is not finding a little bit more speed either, because he tends to respond when the track is comfortable, i.e. there is nothing major to hit on the way around. This track's got a lot of runoff areas.
Well, there's a few tyre stacks around, aren't there?
Yeah, but they tend to be on the inside, not on the outside. However, there are a couple of places you can go off and have a fairly major one, and turn 12, I think, if you go off too far, you're going to have a major
he's
one.
Only a small, he's a slight lad, so and he sits on the left-hand side in that Chevy, so vision of those tyre stacks, pinpointing, you are looking for inches, and being able to pick up and judge that could be an issue for him.
Lopez faster again, 0.15 of a second quicker than his previous best. So that brings him down to a 1:39.5. And the fastest lap we had was a 1:38.26. So quicker than free practice 1, but not as quick as free testing. Mehdi Benani was very quick for most of the first free practice, ended up second quickest, 1:40.3, and his best lap at the moment 1:40.0, so he's found 0.3. Problem is Jose Maria Lopez has found 0.75 of a second. And Benani goes top. Well. So that was a good lap from the Moroccan driver.
There you go, just as the sun starts to drop away from us.
1:39.2 for Mehdi Benani. And he managed a 40.3 in FP1, so that's very 1.1 seconds quicker. I was going to say very nearly a second quicker. That's over a second quicker.
De Moustier's Chevy looks a bit of a handful there, bouncing around in the braking area. We could see the time start to tumble a wee bit, because as the sun drops away from us, the track temperature will fall off a cliff, and that's going to bring grip back into
I'm not sure it's going to drop so much, because the air temperature is still so high. It will, yes, definitely it will lose temperature, and tomorrow morning it will take a while to warm up. But I bet if you lay down on the track right now, it'll feel lovely and toasty. That's probably where Alex and Ben are at the moment. These areas, when you're driving in the middle of the night, you often will find animals sleeping on the road because it's so warm.
Are you calling Alex and Ben animals?
No, not at all. Ben, definitely.
Only when he's been drinking.
Ben, I'm amazed that Ben even has the chutzpah to show his face on camera. I mean, goodness me. The less said about that, the better. But Alex has been fully acclimatised here. She's going to really struggle when she gets back to the UK.
They're all locking those rear tyres up, aren't they? They're inside rears. It kicks it into the air and it skips across the ground. And if they're not careful, it's okay 1 or 2 corners or 1 or 2 laps, but it can end up like a 50p piece. And so you can't cycle your tyres from front to rear. You've got to be careful. I mean, they've got a long weekend ahead of them with these things, when the limited tyres they have in their allocation.
With its short wheelbase, the Honda tends to be the choppiest of the lot, doesn't it? We've seen that a lot, the Honda hopping from one bump to another in a couple of braking areas. The Chevrolet and the Citroen, slightly longer wheelbase. The Lada sort of between the two. Tom Chilton currently fastest of all. That's a good lap. Norbert Mikel is second. Tom. Hugo Vallant was second fastest early on. That's now 7th place.
I didn't see whether Tom he must have taken new tyres for that. It's whether the others have taken. Michelitz is down there as well. Michelitz is.
See, that's a good lap. Just 38.8, a 39.0 for Norby, 39.05 for Tiago. So Lopez is 39.39, is now only 5th fastest. So this is definitely new tyre territory.
Vallant looks pretty committed here as well, so.
Ugo always looks committed, doesn't he?
Driving out the pit lane, he looks committed.
He only has 2 speeds, off and committed. But actually, genuinely, with the pace of other Chevys as well as his own, he's definitely got top 5 potential here. And what would be really great is to see him qualify really well and start really well, because that is still a massive bugbear for him, getting the car off the line.
Obviously getting a wee bit hot there.
Yep.
Vallant's got top 5 potential at every round, Martin. It's just how long he stays on the track for. That's
absolutely.
That's the only question mark. They had a bit of a fire in there. Is that extinguisher powder? We're just sort of getting rid of.
Yeah, it might be. Just overheating under the bonnet. Nico Lapierre out in the Chevy. As you can see, only just gone out in the Chevy, with chance of doing 2 laps, maybe a 3rd if he collects the checkered flag, or if the checkered flag comes out just after he starts a lap. That's going to be tough. This is his out lap from the pits, so he might get 2 flying laps, and that's really going to leave him struggling. Half an hour of testing, half an hour of free practice, compared to half an hour of testing and an hour of free practice for everybody else. Huff goes 10th. Best of the Ladas. They're a little bit disappointing in terms of pace here.
Extremely disappointing, considering they're. I mean, I think they were hoping for big things. You know, considering the weight bonus they're going to be carrying this weekend, or lack of.
I'll tell you who might be showing well here. Chilton is first. Just see who just popped up to 5th. John Philippi is 5th. So Mikelitz and Montero, 2nd and 3rd for Honda. Bonani 4th for Citroen. Philippi 5th in his Chevrolet Cruze. And Tom Chilton fastest in a Chevy Cruze. Lopez 6th, Loeb 7th, Vallant 8th in his Chevy, then Demoustier Chevy in 9th. So 1, 2, 3, 4 Chevys in the top 9.
Yeah, with no direct info from coming from the pit lane at the moment. You've got to, and we're having to sort of assume what tyres these guys are running on. You've got to assume that the Citroens aren't going for new tyres at the minute. They're saving them.
Yes, although normally you would have a fresh tyre run at the end of free practice before you go into qualifying. Of course, this isn't going into qualifying. Qualifying is tomorrow morning. So yes, things that you would normally do might change now, because what you find on fresh tyres at this time of day will tell you nothing about qualifying. But with Muller in 12th and Marr just, where did he vanish to? Up to 10th. Tarquini goes 2nd. Muller 13th, Marr 11th. Loeb 9th, Lopez 8th. Let's hope they're confident at Citroen. I'm sure they are.
Those Honda Type R LED headlights are fantastic, aren't they? They're the way with the daylighters around them as well. Do
you see the picture on Twitter of somebody who's done a pumpkin as a as a Honda Type
good.
R. I
I
really love those devil eyes. Somebody needs to work that into next year's livery. That looked really very, very smart indeed. And that's one of the things about modern car design, is things like lights. You know, in the 60s they were round and you stuck them on the front and they had to be a certain height and certain distance apart. Now things like lights are all part of the look and the face and the design of the car, so much more than ever they were. And you get really crafty with the way that you use that facial expression on the front of the car, and, you know, little rows of LEDs to look like eyebrows or whatever. Again, you look at Lapierre's Lada here, very distinct family face of design emerging from the Lada group, and these cars leading from the front. Lapierre's first flying lap ahead of Tin Sritre in his Chevy Cruze. Black and white flag and lap disallowed for Nicky Katzberg. Lap disallowed.
Lapierre moves up to 14th.
For Gabriele Tarquia, no, for Tom Coronel as well. In fact, we're only getting a few notifications on our timing screen here. There were a whole host of disallowed laps in FP1 that we weren't informed of on the timing screen.
Now they're either relaxing it. I can't believe the drivers are behaving themselves more than... Yeah, they're going to be wanting
Well, they know a little bit more where they're getting. So, you know, where you get those corners that join together, you've got the rhythm a bit better so you don't run out of road at the end of it. You know, think about somewhere like the Beckett's S's. It takes a couple of laps where you go piling in before you realise how much you have to slow down in the second element so that you're not running
Martin,
onto the grass.
I disagree. You take more and more and more. Unless Jonathan Palmer's got his little magic strips there to take photographs of you and pull you up. They've either had a word with the observers to relax it a bit, or they've had a word with the drivers and given them all the bony finger and said they're going to be given black flags, and that's making them behave themselves a bit more.
There were definitely more laps disallowed in FP1 than we saw on screen. We saw maybe 2 or 3 notifications, but there was a dozen and more, so I wouldn't be at all surprised to find the same here. I think they're notifying black and white flags particularly, which is a sort of your final warning. See, the sun is almost below the horizon now, behind our main grandstand. As the cars come back in, you can actually see the effect of the lights. Normally you can barely tell the lights are on at all, but the sun has sunk. Definitely time to get some quinine into us, I think. You know, when you're in these tropical regions, can't take any chances with malaria. Lots of quinine. Tom Chilton ends up fastest after free practice 2, ahead of Gabriele Tarquini by 78 thousandths. Norbert Mikulits and Thiago Monteiro racked up there as well, showing that the Honda and the Chevrolet could offer a challenge to the dominant Citroën C-Élysées here this weekend. Lada though, Rob Huff 12th, Nico Lapierre on 3 flying laps, actually ahead of Nicky Katzberg, his teammate. So Lapierre getting up to speed very quickly. And in the end, Tom Coronel and Tin Sritre at the tail of the field.
Here in Thailand, Mr. Tom Chilton aboard a Chevrolet. Tom, it was a new tyre run, but it was a mega middle sector.
It was a mega middle sector, you're absolutely right. It's where all the corners are, it's very technical. So far up until now, which is FP2, I've had problems with the car, like damper problems, diff problems, clutch problems. And up until FP2, I'd only actually done 2 flying laps with a car which was working. So I was like, guys, I'm still learning the circuit, and we were debating if we just leave me out there on old tyres for like 10 laps just to get used to the circuit, because I've really done nothing. And it's a new circuit to us, and I was like, right, big push, boys, big push. And I pushed as hard as I possibly could, and they go, you're P1. I was like, yeah, but everyone else will go faster, don't worry. We've been last all weekend, still P1. So, you know, it's nice because in FP2 in Shanghai, I was second fastest. So it's nice to be second quickest there and fastest here, but we need to carry this through into qualifying. What was hard for us in Shanghai is qualifying, sadly, was in the morning. It was very cold and changed our setup. Now it's cold. I think we've now got a good setup in the cold conditions. But actually qualifying at 10 o'clock tomorrow will actually be quite hot the way Thailand works. So who knows where we're going to be.
We'll have a nice relaxing evening and hopefully we'll see you at the circuit for morning qualifying this time, yeah?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, Tom Chilton will be setting about 6 alarms, won't he, after coming within an ace of missing qualifying last time out in Shanghai. So that is it then. Sun is down and time for the hijinks. Time for a quiet evening. Certainly no hijinks at all. Don't forget, qualifying starts at 10 tomorrow morning. That's Sunday morning for qualifying, and that's 10 local in GMT. That is 3 a.m. So we'll be on air from about 2:45, 2:50 GMT, which is just before 4 a.m. Central European Time. A little bit more hospitable for those of you watching us on Eurosport Australia. Well, wherever you are around the globe watching on Eurosport or online, thanks for being with us. And on behalf of Matt Neal, Alex Legui and Ben Constantinos, Martin Haven saying we will see you tomorrow bright and early for qualifying and races. Qualifying, as I said, at 10 a.m. and the races get underway at 4, which is 9 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So the 2 races back to back here. The first from the World Touring Car Championship at Buriram in Thailand. And how much will free practice be reflected in qualifying? I'm certain we will see the Chevrolets further up the grid, but the Honda and Citroens will be swinging as ever to try and get through and grab pole position. A chance this